And then we proceed to Git and GitHub. We'll also be talking about Hacktoberfest and GitHub Student Pack. Coming to open source, as you can see from the definition here, open source software is a type of computer software in which source code is released under a license in which the copyright holder grants users the right to use, study, or change. But before talking about open source, you need to understand that healthy collaborative work in most of the time results in a better outcome. Open source is based on this ideology. Okay, so talking about open source softwares in layman language, if a person, say me, is working on a project, say for example in Python language or whichever language you want, so you write a code. This primary code or initial code is called as the source code, which you run. And suppose there are some bugs, fixes, and room for improvements in the program. Normally, you could share it with your peers locally on the same or different local machine. You can give your source code to them with the help of a pen drive or hard disk, etc. But what if you want to share it with a wider audience and want their help or contribution? This is where open source comes into play. Open sources are software whose source code are in public domain and everyone can access the source code and contribute to it. The primary benefit for you, if you are the maintainer, a maintainer is a person who writes the initial source code and post it or host it on a platform such as GitHub or GitLab. Will come on that. The primary benefit for you is that if you write the source code and you'll get the contribution of some of the best minds across the globe. I mean, you may be a beginner or an experienced person, but you never know who might see your program and fix it. Also, you learn how to work in a collaborative manner. Some of the famous open source projects are shown here on screen. Linux, MySQL, Ubuntu, Firefox, WordPress, and even Android. Uh, Further, Akash will tell a little more about open source.
Okay, so am I audible to everyone? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you
Yes.
are.
Okay, so open source projects are there are very large projects. A lot of companies, like all of these software projects, are very large, and so there are a lot of people working on the same project at the same time. So you, like, remotely, me and Aniket, if we both of us are working on some project, then it would be very difficult for us to work in a cohesive manner where all of our contribution is meaningfully added to the project in the correct time. So there are tools which help us to sort of help in this manner. And the other benefit of using open source projects is that we since the source code is freely available, a lot of people who want to contribute in a project, who are passionate about something, can contribute in the same project without having to join an organization or that sort of thing. So it's really good for students also. Like, all of us can contribute in any of these open source projects. Linux, Firefox, WordPress, all of these are open source, so we can easily contribute in them, and it also helps us, and it also helps the organizations which are making these really big pieces of software. Yeah, so that's the fundamental reasoning behind why there are so many open source projects, and it's collaborative in nature. It Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I have shown, me and Akash have shown you about open source, and I've shown, as on your screen you can see there's a person, and there are few more people around the globe who will contribute to his work. Okay, but there need to be a medium or a platform through which they can contribute. So, coming to platforms, there are multiple ways in which you could share your idea or say your program. You can share it via any of the platforms available, like which you use. For example, you can post it on Facebook, you can post it on LinkedIn. But the thing is, these platforms are not reliable or they cannot be considered suitable for this purpose. So now we move on to the platforms made specifically for the promotion of open source culture, like we have GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, etc. We'll give you a brief introduction about GitHub here and teach you how to get started with it, and then we'll explore it later into the session. Coming to GitHub, as you can see from the definition, GitHub is a corporation that provides hosting for software development and version control using Git. It offers the distributed version control and source code management functionality of Git. It has been a subsidiary of Microsoft since 2018. So, in layman language, GitHub is basically a platform for open sourcing where you could host your projects. I mean, you could post your work so that people all around the globe could access it. It has a variety of tools which I'll show you in a while. GitHub has over 14 million users currently. For getting familiar with GitHub, let's open the website. See, once you open GitHub, is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. See, once you open github.com, you'll notice the usual sign in and sign up options. You need to paste your username and email ID and a password. Once you sign in, this is how it looks. This is the main screen. I've created a new account, so you won't see much here. Let's head to the profile section. You'll see your profile. Okay, here. As you can see, there are two repositories which I created today. So there's one much, and one I'll teach you about fork later. See, this is the timeline here. It will show how many contributions you made, or is it major? Or see, from white to light green, it shows what is the weightage of your contribution. Okay. Now let's head to the repository section and create a repository. Firstly, telling about the repository. Basically, a repository is a folder in which all the files of your project will be kept. It may be in any language, or it may not be a project also. You can manage documents also here. Okay. Right hand side, you'll see a new button. You'll click here to create a new repository. Here you can put a name of the repository and a description. I'll write that as work repo 1. Personally, I would suggest you always add a description so that a person who will come across your repository will understand what is the basic idea behind your project. You can add a README file. I'd suggest always add a README file. README file contains all the documentation, all the softwares, related things, anything involved in the project which you need to install before working on it. So always add a README file. It is written in a Markdown language. Here you can see two options, public and private. You can either keep your repository as a public so any person can contribute to it, or you can keep it private for you and your organization to work upon. I'm going to make a public repository and initiate a README file. Create repository. Once you create a repository and you go to the repository page, you'll see this is the repository how it looks. Here's the README file, and initially this README file contains the name of the repository, work repo 1. Okay, now adding files to the repository, you can click here and there are two options, create new file or upload files. You can either upload files from your desktop or you can create a new file. I'm going to create a new file here and it will be a Python file. I'll create test1.py, and for simplicity I'm just going to add a print statement. This is a new file. Now, what is committing a file? Committing are changes that you are going to make to a file. And I'll talk about pull requests later, but for a brief overview, pull requests are made. Pull requests are the changes that are requested to the maintainer when you make changes to other person's repository. Here I'm making changes to my repository so I can directly commit without making a pull request because I have all access to it. I'm gonna commit it here. You can see a new file test1.py is created, and inside that file there's a print statement. This is a new file. And now you can download this repository and work on it locally. Further explanation will be carried out by Akash.
Okay, so again, am I audible?
Sir, you're audible, but the screen is not visible.
Yes, yes. I'll just share my screen in a second. Yeah. Now, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what we are going to do is, first of all, I'll explain what Git is. All right. So Git is basically a version control system. And so how Git works is basically it keeps track of the changes you have made to a file. And how it does that, we don't really need to go in detail of that. We just need to understand what branches are and how we can use this to maintain our project. So let's consider this. When we start a project, like we just created, like we just created a repository just now in GitHub. So this is, we can say in some way we have created a node. Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
okay, so then these are all changes. So we can keep track of the changes as different nodes. You can understand this as being different nodes. Okay. So we can go like once we've made some changes. So, okay, so we'll come to this. Now consider there are different files here. All right, so your project will have multiple files. So these are all source code files where you've written some lines of code, and this is contained in one node. Okay, and then you do some work, and some other people contribute. Some other people contribute to you because it is a collaborative process. So now what happens is there would be some changes in these files, right? So this would be some different file, this would be some different file. So keeping track of it can, like, we can use a pen drive, or we can manually keep track of the
Akash, you are actually
changes.
muted. Can you unmute
Okay,
yourself?
okay. Yeah. What was the last thing you could hear?
That there are some new changes created in
Yeah.
this
Okay. Okay.
file.
So we've created some new changes. So we can so there are different ways we can sort of manage this. Yeah. So we can either track these changes manually. Like if me and Aniket are working on a project, then if I've made some changes, I can tell him ki okay, I've made some changes to some file, and he needs to see that if it works with all the other files in the project. Okay, so this is possible when two or three people are working. But when if you can imagine, thousands of people are working on the Linux kernel or on the Android open source project. Yeah, so when there are thousands of people who all live across the globe and all of them have different, their times are different, and so it's very difficult to keep track of changes in a large project. And another thing is when there are a large number of files, like many projects have millions of lines of code and thousands of people are working on it. A typical large project would be of this scale, millions of lines of code and thousands of contributors. So there it is.
Akash,
Yeah,
excuse me.
yeah.
Can you go a little slow?
Okay, sorry. So, when there are thousands of people contributing on the same project, then it can be really hard to keep track of these changes because the people may be changing the same files at the same time, and which may create merge conflicts, which we later cover. And so it's very quickly it is going to become very hard to keep track of the changes. So what Git does for us, sorry, it's a version control system. Sorry. So what version control means is like imagine if you've released the first version of your software, like it's a alpha release. You've written some lines of code. It's a new project, and then you released it on GitHub. So and you want other people to improve and work on the project alongside with you. So what version control does is it keeps track of all these changes which we have made for us. So it sort of automates the process of tracking these changes. So once these changes have been made, Git can magically keep track of these changes and it can create a new node. This is a new node which has been created. So this file exists here, and this new set of files which has been changed. It is the same project, but the files have some new changes in it. So this exists as a new node, and then later on, if some other people contribute here, then a new node can be created. So this is the basic flow of how nodes and how GitHub works. So what we need to worry about, what another important feature is that we can bounce between back and forth between these nodes. Like if I'm working on this node, like this is the current node, then if I'm not satisfied with something, or if I have to check like what was the previous version like, so I can see the changes which were in the first version. Like if some line has been changed, I can go back to the previous versions and check and see what were the changes made to the file. I can see them in any order. So yeah, is everyone getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
okay, great. So the next thing we are going to move on to are branches. And so what branches are is basically, this is what we've talked about right now is a linear flow. But since there are many different people, so there may be a time when suppose I want to work on some feature, like if we are let's say building a game. All right, so in the game there is the world map, and there is the player. Okay, so if two different people want to work on these two different things, if someone wants to work on the player dynamics and someone wants to work on the world, so what they can do is keeping track of these changes in the same linear order is not a good idea. So what we can do is first let me get some new space. Uh, how do I? Okay, no. So, okay, all right. We'll just use this space. So we can, yeah, we can sort of branch out from here, and we can create a new node. So this is what this is going to do is create a sort of tree sort of structure. Like this is our one node, and then another node, and then we can branch out from here. So what this means is that if someone wants to work on a new feature or a bug fix, which exists here. So this is one state of the software like this, where some changes have been made and some changes are still being made. So to sort of categorize what sort of changes will be made, and if someone is working on a feature, a new feature in the software, or someone is working on an existing bug, like if this software has a problem, or something is not working right, then they can create a new branch, and then later on what can happen is these branches can merge. So if I fix a bug here, so this bug existed in this piece of this state of the software. So this is created specifically to fix this bug. Getting my point? Hello.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Would you please mind repeating the last point?
Okay, so what I was telling is we can create a new branch. So this is called a branch, where we can sort of one sort of feature or development goes on in this linear fashion, and then we can branch out. If I want to like if I want to fix a bug, or if I want to add a new feature, then I can branch out from here. This progression, this part is going to keep happening. I am going to work on this separate node, which exists parallelly to this. So these two nodes will sort of exist as I mean they will serve different function. So this is basically just to fix the bug which exists in this state, and then later on a feature might be in development in this node, and then we can finally merge them. So we'll have a new in the final node. We'll have a new feature, and we'll also have fixed a bug. So this sort of enables more people to work on the same piece of code simultaneously. So this improves the collaboration. Okay, so what more? Then we can basically come to the commands which we can use. Just a second. Yeah. So yeah, is the presentation visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now we've talked about Git. So Git is a distributed version control system for tracking changes during software development. So any doubts in this? Did everyone get what I was saying?
Okay, everyone, this is
Yes,
an
sir.
interactive session. You can ask your doubts in the middle if you have not cleared what it is,
Yeah.
and you can ask Akash.
So this part is clear.
Okay, so this part is clear. Everyone understood what branches are, what how Git tracks changes. So you basically understand what this language means, right? That it's a distributed version control system. Distributed means all the people in different places in the world can simultaneously work, so it's distributed. Version control system just means that it is taking care of the lines of code for tracking changes. Yeah. So during software development process, okay. So it can be used to track any set of files. Okay, so now we come to the commands. Yeah. So Git is the basic command tool, and these are the sub commands. So Git init, Git branch. So what Git init does is if okay, there's two ways you can work on a software project. The first one we've already introduced is you start a repository in GitHub, and then you add collaborators, and then you start working there. Or if you started a project alone, then like usually we just create a new folder and start a project in our local computer. Yeah, all right. So what happens is this is sort of for this. So git init means it will initialize a GitHub repository in your directory, in your current directory. So dot slash means the current directory. If any of you are familiar with Linux command line, you'll know that dot slash means it's the current directory. So in the current directory, git init will create. So git init will basically what it will do is it will go through all your files and it will see the state of the file key. So where what files are written, what lines of code is written in which file. So it will just understand that and it will keep track of that. So once a repository has been initialized, you can sort of keep track of the changes even in a local repository. You don't necessarily need to use GitHub, but it is recommended to use GitHub because it sort of allows collaboration, which is the basic reason why Git and GitHub actually exist. So git branch should be obvious. We can use this command to create a new branch. If we write git branch dash b and a new branch, so it'll create a new branch. If we just type git branch dash a, so dash a for all. So that means I'll also demonstrate all of these commands just in a minute. So we're just going through them once. So git branch basically creates a new branch, or you can see all of the existing branches currently in your project. Okay, so the next command is git clone. What git clone does is you can clone a repository which is on GitHub or another repository in some other place. Like if I want to work on a project, then definitely I'll need to have the files on my local system. So what git clone does is from GitHub you can clone the entire repository on your local system. So it will be exactly the same structure, file structure, and all the files and all the text all the source code will be exactly the same as on the remote repository. Git checkout is used to change your current branch. So if you once we created a new branch, we need to check out to that branch. So what this means is that if we are in this branch, like if we are here and if you want to create a new branch, so we'll create a new branch using git branch, and then we'll check out to this branch. So then our in a metaphorical way, our cursor would be pointing here. So the files we'll be seeing would be the files which exist at this node. So if this is the file set which exists on this node, we'll be seeing these files. And but Git, so all of these files also exist in the repository, but we will be working on this. So any changes you make will be recorded to this node right here. Okay, so git add. So this is a so staging and committing. These are the two steps. So there are many times when in the directory there might be some files which you do not want to upload to the to the remote repository. So you might have some sort of passwords or some sort of user files which are confidential, which you don't want to share to the entire public. So in that case, you can manually add files, and you can so this what this allows us to do is exclude some of the files which we do not want to keep track. Like if I have a file listing all the users and their passwords, so I would not want that file to be uploaded to the internet, right? So I can add all of the source code files. So we can use patterns, like we can give it a command like to track all of the files which end in .py. So all the python files would be tracked by GitHub, and if there's a text file, that would not be tracked. And then after we've added the files so after this command, what happens is these changes get staged. So if you've made a change to a file which GitHub is tracking, what happens is it sort of puts it in a staging area, which is just one step behind actually committing to the changes, that yes, I want to make these changes. And then finally there's git commit. And git commit comes so git commit what it does, it pushes the changes to your node. So once you've made some changes, then you can git commit, and then this will add the changes to this same node. All right. So and then yeah, so we add a message along with our commit message, which is very important. So we have to uh, I'm sorry, we have to write concise messages which anyone who reads the message is able to understand what you changed in the file. So if I added a comment, or if I change the order of files, I just have to concisely represent the changes that I did in the message. Git push, it so if once you've worked on your local repository, you can push the changes to the remote repository. So again, it is going to create a pull request to the person who's the maintainer of the project. And then so that's sort of the GitHub part. And git pull is used to update your local repository. So uh, you understand, like I've told you, right, that a lot of people might be working on the same project. So what happens is, when you are working on, so suppose you're working through the weekend for 2 days, you've been working on some changes in some files on a project. And then what happens is, some other people might also have been working at that same time in some other place. So what git pull does is it sort of updates your local repository again to the remote repository. So it's sort of a refresh button that you can git pull the new changes which have been made not by you but by other people from on the remote repository. So this is also a useful command. So okay, so now we'll continue with. Okay, so first I think I need to clone the repository. Yeah, Aniket, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah. So I
I've
can.
created a new repository. You can clone it.
Okay. Uh, workshop bot. This is the repository.
Work repo one.
Work repo
Work
one.
repo one.
Okay. So what I can do is I can clone this repository. So I'll copy it and then we can go here. So is this visible to everyone?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is git clone and then I'll paste the URL. Okay, so this is cloning the repository. So okay, now we can see it has cloning the repository and it has created a work repo one folder. And okay, so now we can just go into the directory. So ls stands for list items. So you can see all of the stuff which is in my local. So this is the command line of my local machine. So this is on my own computer. Okay. So these are all the files which are available on my own computer. So I'll go into work repo one. CD stands for change directory. So I'll change directory to work repo one. And then I'll again list the files. So we have readme and test1.py. So here also we can see that this is the test1.py file, and so we can open up a text editor, test1.py. So we can see it's the same file which I just cloned from GitHub. So now what we can do is if we add a comment, we can say this is a change, and then I save it and then I exit. So if now I say git status.
Hello, sorry to interrupt. Akash, can you please do it in full screen?
Okay.
The font is not visible.
Okay, so I think I'll have to. The font size would remain the same. Is it visible now?
Hmm. Okay, I'll manage.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No
So
problem.
okay, so yeah, you can see changes are not staged for commit. So because I've not added the file, so I haven't written git add, and so it also shows me to. So this says no changes added to commit. Use git add or git commit a. So git commit a, what it means is git commit dash a means all. We don't want to do that. We want to first add the changes manually or using a pattern. So right now we just have one file, so we can simply say git add test1.py. Okay, so now if we do git status again, you can see it has seen that the file has been modified and the changes have been staged. So now what I can do is git commit. So this is the, so now I have to enter a message. Please enter the message for your changes. So now I can say added a new comment. I can save this and then I can exit. So you can see it says once one file has been changed and two insertions are made. So that's all. So okay, so Aniket, am I a contributor on the repository?
Yes, I've added you.
Okay, okay, great. So what I can do now is I can say git pull already up to date. Great. Git push username. So I'll use my username Akash and Gupta, and then my password is okay. So I don't. I'm not sure if my okay. So my password is not correct. So just a sec. Let me see my password. Just a sec. Okay, so I'll do this again. Git push. Username is and the password is requested URL returned error 403. Okay, so Aniket, I think this is from the okay. I okay. So there's one more additional step to it, which I forgot to mention. So I have to accept the invitation. So I didn't do this. So that was not okay. So now I've accepted the invitation. Yeah. So now this is so now I'm a contributor to this project. So I can directly add changes to this file. So yeah. So this is one additional step. If I did not do that, I would have to create a pull request, which we'll cover later on. So so now I'll do git push again.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, before we proceed, would you please explain what does git commit all means?
Okay. So what git commit all means is in this step you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what we did in this step is when we did git add, so this adds the test one dot. So when we copy the repository, it doesn't actually see. So it doesn't actually know what we are going to change because the project may be very big. So we can add. So I've added what this. So okay, let me start again. What git add does is it adds this file to. So it enables Git to track this specific file. So now I mentioned git add test1.py. So it is going to track all the changes which I have made to this file. Got it? And if I so no changes were added to commit, use git commit a. So if I use git commit a, that means all the files, all the changes and all the files which I have made will be directly committed. I won't be able to. So in when I do git status, so again I'm able to see all the changes here. So it tells me that this one file has been modified. So now imagine if you have multiple files and you've done multiple changes in all of these different files. All of these modified changes would be listed here. So you'll be able to have one final look at what were the changes you've made. Maybe you've changed something which you don't yet want to commit. Getting my point?
Yes, sir. So if we commit all, then we won't have the option of unstaging. Is
Uh,
that so?
so this is sort of I mean, you can always revert back to a previous stage, but what this does is it sort of compresses the whole change into one single change, and then so when you do git add, it keeps track of all the individual changes also. Like if you change one file multiple times, So it will see that as multiple different changes. And I mean, this is not exactly the correct explanation, but to sort of give you an idea. So what git commit does is it compresses all of the changes into one change, because you might have changed the file multiple times or done multiple iterations of changes. So you don't, so that process has been your local process, like when you were working on your local repository, and all of those changes you necessarily don't want to show to the people who are working with you. They just want to see the final working version of it. So what git
Oh,
commit,
yes,
so
sir.
yeah, so what git commit does is it compresses all of the changes into one file. So see, there's a fine balance. Now we can git add tracks all of the individual changes, and git commit compresses all of these changes into one, and then pushes it to the remote repository. So it's sort of up to you, but it is generally not recommended to use git commit dash a. You should yeah, you should keep track of individual changes, and then when you have to sort of update the remote repository, then you should use git commit. Okay, so I was yeah, and my password. Okay, so the changes have been done. Yeah, you can see I've added my username, password, counting objects. So it has 5 objects. So what this means is there are other hidden objects also. So if I do ls dash a, so there's also this dot git file which keeps track of the changes which is being made. So that data must also be stored somewhere, right? So that is stored in this dot git folder. It's a hidden folder, so I had to use dash a to show all of the files, hidden files, and everything. So now you can see git, the .git folder. So all of the changes are kept inside this file, managed inside this file. So now I've updated the repository. So now you can see, can you see my screen? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now you can see this is a new change. So this wasn't here earlier. Now we've added the change and committed it to the, so we pushed it to the remote repository. So this is available on the remote repository. Okay, so is there anything else, Aniket? Am I missing something?
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, so you'll take it from here.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me share my screen.
Yeah, I'll stop my screen. Okay.
I guess we have talked about a lot of things, and that might be too much. But whatever Akash explained using Git, that branches, pull requests, making changes, I'll explain it again using GitHub. Okay. Let's get back to GitHub. See, we have seen how to create a repository, and there are many other tools also, like fork, pull requests, branches, etc. that we'll see now. In a browser. Hello.
Yeah, your voice was cutting a little bit. Can you repeat?
Okay. Now it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying that we have talked about a lot of things. Meanwhile, Akash has explained a lot of things like what is commit and what are branches, what is a pull request. So I'll explain it again using GitHub. So now can you see my screen, browser?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the repository which I created before, work repo one, and there is a file test1.py. I've added Akash as a contributor. I'll show you how to do it. You can go to settings of the repository. You can go to manage access, and you can add a collaborator here. Invite a collaborator. See, when you're working on a project in an organization and you want your colleagues or your friends to work on it together, and you don't want to create unnecessary pull requests. Let me give a brief description of a pull request. Basically, a pull request is when a other person makes a changes to your project and request you to add those changes into your main project on your main profile. That is called as a pull request. After some time, I'll show you how to create a pull request. But when you add a person as a collaborator, he can directly make changes without making a pull request. Means they can directly change things on your profile in the repository, and you can track it later in the pull request section. But they don't need to request you to add that changes. Getting back to work repo one, you can see the file test1.py. I'm going to open it. You can see what Akash added is already here. This is a new change. Okay. What else? Talking about branches. Well, when I added the print statement, then I committed the message directly. I didn't need to create a pull request or a branch. But assume you are working on a project in say a company, and in the same file you need to make two changes, or there are two people, you and your friend, and you have to make few changes. You have to work on a different function, and your friend has to work on something else. So you might not be comfortable, or I can say it's better to create two different branches to work separately, and after some time you can merge those branches into the same project. So suppose I'm gonna open, let's see, I'm gonna open test1.py, and I'm the second guy. I'm not working on the main file. So I'll go to edit it, and I'm gonna add a print statement. Print, this is a branch. Okay, here, always try to name your commits as new branch. I'm gonna name it as new branch. And see, if you commit it directly to the main branch, then all the changes will be made to the main only that test1.py. But if you create a new branch, from that point, two separate parallel projects will be created into the repository. Uh, this is a default name, workshop bot patch one. So I'm gonna let it as it is. I'm gonna propose changes. See, when you propose these changes, a new branch is created. You can directly create a pull request now to merge it, or you can wait for some time, work more upon that project, and later add it to the main branch. Let's get back to the work repo one. You'll see here there's an option main. In the main file, I added a print statement. It is in there because it's the main branch. And when I switch to workshop bot patch one, you can see the print statement is added here. So from that point, there are two parallel branches made in which two people can work, and later they can merge it into a single project. Okay. Uh, when you're working on the same file, if two people are working on the same file, there might be a chance that a conflict can be created. Okay. So let me create a conflict. I'll go to the main branch, and I'll go to test1.py. Well, what is the branch? Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want test1.py in the main branch, and I'm going to change the first print statement to one. And let me change this. Okay, let me do that with this, or I can change it to, and I'm going to commit these changes to the main branch. So I made few changes in two statements in the main branch. Okay, but what if there is a second person who is working in the second branch, that is patch one, and whatever changes he need to make, or whatever task he's assigned, for that he also changes this second statement or the third one. Okay, I'm going to change that this as branch, and alternate line, and I'm going to commit it to the patch one branch. See, so the changes are made to the path one branch. Now when I go back to the path one branch, or the second branch I can say, here you can see this branch is two commits ahead and one commit behind. This keeps track of what changes we have made in both the branch. And when you have worked with the branch, you can at the end create a pull request to merge those both branches into the main. So I'm going to create a pull request. See, you can see here can't automatically merge because we have made changes to the same statement in both the files. So you have to manually resolve the conflict. You can name it here so to keep a record. I can name it as merging or merge. I'm going to create a pull request. You can see here to create a pull request. You need to click on the icon, but I cannot directly merge it because there's a conflict which needs to be resolved. Okay, this conflict can be resolved either by you for making the pull request if you are apart from the maintainer, or the maintainer can himself or herself resolve the conflict. It's better to resolve the conflict by making the pull request.
Aniket, your voice is not clear.
Hello.
Now it's okay.
Okay, where I was last. What was the
Sir,
last thing you could hear?
I could
While
hear up
creating
to
the
this.
PR, we have to keep it.
Can you repeat it again?
So we are about to resolve the conflict.
Shown here. See, I edited the alternate line and I created a new line. This portion is clear, but you need to choose between these two lines manually and you can create. And once you do that, you can remove these lines so that you can directly and you can click on mark as resolved. See, according to me, I want to create alternate. I want to keep alternate line and new line two. So I'm gonna copy it from here. I'm gonna add it here. I'm gonna remove these lines. So as a maintainer, at the end, I want this format. I want to keep it like this. And I'm gonna click on mark as resolved. Now this file can be merged because the issue is being resolved. I'm gonna click here, commit merge. See, this branch has no conflicts with the base branch. Now you can directly merge it. See, when an organization has people working under it on the same project, there are a high chance that a merge conflict will be created. I'm going to merge the pull request here and I'm going to name it as merge. Always try to name it so that the maintainer can understand what you did. Write a statement. I'm going to confirm merge. Okay, see, now since you have merged the branch, you can either delete the branch, and if you want to work more on that branch, you can keep it. I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to go back to the main branch. See, in the main test1.py, you can see these changes have been made. There's print one, alternate line, new line, and print new branch. Okay, so we have talked about branches, how to commit them, how to solve the merge conflict. And as Akash explained about version control, basically version control is keeping track of the changes, what you did, keeping track of all the versions which have been created once you're proceeding. See, you can go to the pull request section and you can go to this one close pull request. Here I have merged the branches. You can click on that. See, control is important because you can revert those changes back if you don't want them. There's a button here, revert. On here, I've created the pull request merged the pull request 1 minute ago. So here's the revert button. You can click here. I'm gonna revert the merge, so it's already written a revert merge. Now I'm gonna create a pull request to revert it back to the previous version, which was before merging. See, now I have to merge this pull request to get the main file back to the original. I'm gonna confirm merge. Now when I go back to the main repository, you see, this went back to the original before the previous version. Print one and only new line. There are no more characters here. So version control is important because you can revert changes. As you can see, for an application, there are many versions created. So if there is a bug or a problem in the newly created version, which they find out later, they can easily revert back those changes and go to the previous version. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, I've explained. You've understood. Okay, I'll explain pull request again. I'm gonna go to Akash profile. Okay, when you're working on your repository, then you can directly commit changes, revert back. But what if you want to work on a bigger project of a bigger organization? You want to contribute to it. So I'm on Akash profile. I'm gonna go to his repository. Well, also you can see here this timeline. This timeline shows how much you contributed. See, Akash contributed on September 19 and 8 contributions, October 17 and today. I'm gonna go to his repositories and I'm gonna go to project user. Okay, what is fork? Basically, fork is like you are copying his files or his repository into your GitHub profile and you want to work it there. And when you made all the changes, useful changes, then you can directly create a pull request to add it to the main repository, which is on Akash profile, which he is working upon, or the organization's profile. I'm going to click on fork. See, it's going to take some time. Okay. See, now it's showing as workshop bot project user. Means this repository is automatically on my profile and it shows here forked from Akash and Gupta project user. Okay. So now I can commit changes to this repository, whatever I like, or whatever useful changes, and then I can directly create a pull request. Okay, one thing let me clear one thing. We are making minor changes such as print statement or comments, but you need to create useful changes. Don't make unnecessary changes to any person's repository because it will create difficulty for him or her. Okay, let me open names.txt. I'm gonna edit it here. Okay, I'm gonna remove few names which according to me are not necessary or not useful. Okay, here you can see I can directly commit these changes to the main branch because this repository is a copy on my profile. So I'm gonna commit these changes. I'm gonna go back to the project user on my profile. See, basically, suppose you're working for an organization and you're working on their project and you made several major changes. And finally, when you completed your work, you want to add this whole repository and all the changes, that is, all the commits. You want to add it to the main file. So once you have done all the changes, you can click here. See, I only changed one change. I only made one change. So this branch is one commit ahead of Akash main file, main repository. So when you made several changes, several commits, they can click on pull request and commit all the changes to the organization's main repository. I'm gonna click here. See, see this was the original file and this is the change. Since I've changed the change in between, so it's showing again. If I added a single line, it would show at end. Okay, I'm gonna go create a pull request. Excuse me. I'm gonna name it as edited the list. and I'm gonna create a pull request. See, now it is on Akash profile. You can see a pull request is created, and it is an open pull request that I've created. When the maintainer adds this pull request, of when he finds this as useful for his project, he can add it directly. Akash,
Yeah, so I'll share my screen and show
you
you how
can
it looks on
share
my
story.
side. Yeah. Okay, so I'll be sharing. Which screen should I be sharing? Okay, so yeah. So just a sec. Yeah. Okay, I'll go to my repositories and then I'll go to Project Euler. So you can see it shows one pull request. So if I go here, I can. So now I can see one file has been edited the list. So I can see the message he has put there. So okay, let's just go back. Yeah. So this is going to be like right now there's just one pull request, so it just shows one. So when it's a large project, there might be many pull requests open which you haven't been able to look yet. So this also shows that the request is from workshop board and it is to the main branch. So I'll go to this change and updated names.txt. So if I go to commits and files changed. Okay, so now the red part in this is the files which have not been changed, and the green is the files which have been changed. So this is a very large file. So it's sort of not as clear in this.
Okay, the thing is, I actually changed in the middle, so it is showing the file. It is showing the whole list again. If I added a
Okay,
statement
okay.
at the end, yes, okay. You can continue.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so I mean it's sort of difficult to see the changes here, but so I can explain. So what happens is it's showing the whole list again because it doesn't have a separate line. It's just one large file. So the problem here is it keeps track using like in different lines. So if you do a change in one line, then it will keep track of that line. So the problem with this file is it's one large file with commas.
Okay.
It's a CSV file. Yeah,
Akash,
yeah,
I'll explain. The thing is, I changed the middle,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yes.
is showing that I removed the previous list or CSV file, and I added a new
Added a new
CSV
file.
file.
So
If
like
I
if
added
you
a statement
remove
at the
some,
end,
yeah. Okay, sorry. Continue.
no, it's okay. So if I added the statement at the end, then it would show a new line added, and the previous version would have remained as it was. But I've removed in the middle, so it's showing a entirely new line.
Yeah. So, but we can still explain. So, like try to understand this that this whole red part is the old file. So this whole red thing is the old file which was, and then so what Aniket did is he went to some names like this and then he deleted them. So this imagine that this part has been cleared off in the new file. So this is the new file and some random names which is very hard to track right now. We're sorry about that. So some names would have been removed here. So it would be much easier to understand it if it was a regular file with different lines. But anyway, I hope the our point is clear. So the green part shows the changes which have been made to the file by the person who has done the pull request. So in this case, Aniket has removed these names. So this is the new file. It would be much easier to see that if it was a regular source code file. Yeah, continue, Aniket. Okay, so I'm sorry. I have to.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry. I have to
Merge
see.
the request.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to merge the request. So once I've reviewed the files, and then I can go to conversations, and then I can say merge pull request. Edited the list, so I have an option to change this commit message. And then I can merge this. Yeah. So now if I go to code and then I go to names.txt. So I mean, again, it's just one long line, but imagine some of the names being removed. Is it can you imagine that? Are you guys getting me?
Yes, sir, it's understandable.
Okay, great. So yeah. So from the original file, some names have been removed here. Two or three names from the middle part have been removed. Yeah, so that's how you can use pull requests to sort of edit already existing code and then merge it to the upstream branch. So uh, the person who is the maintainer can then take your useful input, and so that's how you can contribute to projects which are already existing. And there is actually no limit to the sort of contribution you can make. You can directly contribute to the Linux kernel or to Android. So these are very large projects, and anyone can contribute to it. So it's very helpful actually, even for your CV and resume. Yeah.
So the thing with open sources, you don't need to pass through an exam or interview. If you have the skills, you can directly contribute to any of the major projects in the world. Okay, so we have talked about version control, GitHub, and we have shown you how to
Sir,
make changes. Yes, okay.
sorry to interrupt. I had a question.
Okay.
Sir, if we've invited a collaborator, in that case, we won't receive any pull requests, right? Like it would
Yes.
directly merge the code, right? But
Yes.
in case we haven't invited a collaborator and some random person is editing our code, then we'll get a pull request and it's our choice
Yes.
to merge or
Well,
not.
when Akash made changes to my repository, I had invited him as a collaborator. But when I made changes to his repository, I wasn't a collaborator. That's why a pull request was created.
And that's the reason that we had an option to either merge the changes or not, right?
Yes, he could have either added the changes or he could have directly discarded them or closed them.
Alright, sir, thank you.
Akash,
Yeah.
I'm gonna present my screen.
Okay.
So we have shown you the useful tools in GitHub. We have shown you how to contribute. And now talking about Hacktoberfest. See, Hacktoberfest is a month-long celebration of open source software. Basically, what is a Hacktoberfest? Uh, DigitalOcean conducts a kind of a fest in which they encourages you to create pull requests or make commits or changes to major projects. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, when you go to the website hacktoberfest.digitalocean, you can log in there with the help of your GitHub account, and you can contribute to any of the projects. Hello.
Yeah, you're audible.
This year, Hacktoberfest has decided to work with only opt-in projects, that is, who wants to participate in Hacktoberfest. And there have been so many spammy pull requests. So I'll suggest don't make minor changes like editing a text or adding a print statement, something. Try to make useful pull requests. Try to visit Hacktoberfest website. It's a good thing. And talking about GitHub Student Developer Pack, actually, GitHub Student Developer Pack gives you many tools, learning resources, website domains, and many more things for free, which you can work. Like Akash, what you're doing with GitHub Student Pack now? Right now?
So there are a lot of benefits which you can get by using Am I audible?
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. So what I was saying is, you can. So I use Unity a lot for game development. So you can get what do I say, tutorials and resources which are behind the paywall. So if you're a student and you verify yourself with GitHub Education and verify yourself as a student, so you get these resources for free.
Okay, the best thing about GitHub Student Developer Pack is all you need is a valid college ID card, and you get a bunch of resources free. And also, there's a program called as GitHub Student Campus Expert. GitHub will train you for around 5 to 6 months. They'll give you assignments and they'll help you development of leadership skills, management skills, and technical skills. So go to this link and hack over this link and try to explore this. A friendly suggestion. Okay, so you need to understand no one can spoon feed you. I mean, you need to come out of the comfort zone. See, we have given you an introductory workshop on Git and GitHub, but you can understand it fully when you go to the website, create your profile, and work on projects. Try to make pull requests to other people's profile and these kinds of things. Okay, so any more questions?
So, what are the benefits of participating in this Hacktoberfest? Do we get any
Well,
perks or anything?
actually, you can get a T-shirt, or you can try to plant a tree. These are the perks for Hacktoberfest. But the main idea behind Hacktoberfest is that you learn how to contribute into the open source, create a pull request.
And
The main
so,
idea
what
behind
is
it.
the main purpose? Like, why would we want to contribute, to a random person's code?
Okay,
So
the
that
thing
we can
is,
put that into our CV or something. It improves our performance result or something.
well, the thing is, when you work in a company or an organization, teamwork is really important, and collaborative work is best, according to me, and according to most of the people. Collaborative. When you're working on a project, tell me, do you take help from your friends or seniors?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay. So the open source culture is like you need to work in a collaborative manner, and it's like non-profit, you can say this, but it helps in your development. Akash, you want to say something?
Yeah, so your question was, what's the benefit of contributing to open source? Okay, so there are actually multiple benefits to contributing. First of all, and so the idea behind Hacktober is also this. So they want to. So it's for students. So they already know that students are going to want to get a T-shirt and get things like a bag. So, but that's the motivation they give you. But the actual reason is they want you to learn open source contributions because it is important for you and it is also important for the community. It's also important for the open source community because it is mostly students who are contributing to these projects and very important like Android and Linux and Ubuntu. All of these are very big projects which have a huge reach across the globe. So when you get out of college and then you'll be working in a software company or something like that, so then they also use tools like GitHub and Git. So this is a way to familiarize yourself with these tools. And
Uh,
yeah, you were saying something.
okay, I was saying that I want to add that yes, it plays a major role in your CV. When you apply for internships or a job, many of the companies ask for your GitHub profile to see what contributions you have made. Because it's like a hands-on project in which you have worked.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions?
So it's just one person has been asking questions. I hope other people also ask some questions.
I hope rest of you are not sleeping.
Yeah. Any more questions? Anyone?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
So I wanted to ask that does the contribution in open source and the workflow with GitHub is affected by the operating system a user uses? Like if I'm using Windows,
No, no.
are
So
there some features which I don't get if I'm not using Linux?
no, no. You to use Git, and so GitHub is based on a browser. So GitHub will work anywhere, and it's the same for Git. So Git is available for Linux, Mac, and Windows, all of the three. So you can use Git command line, the same commands without any change. They can be used with both Windows and Linux. So there's no difference there.
Okay, so features are all same. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All the
but
commands are the
but
same.
Windows itself is not open source, but Linux is.
Yes.
So, is there what do you suggest? Should I go with Windows or should I use Linux?
I mean, it really
Well, it depends on what you want to do with
exactly,
the
exactly.
system. If you want to work on graphic designing, etc., I would suggest Windows is better.
But they don't provide data security.
Well, we are not the right person to answer this.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it really depends on the type of work you have. So even in software development, if you're a game developer, so
Mhm.
the most likely platform the players you're targeting are going to be using Windows. So and tools like Unity and Unreal Engine, which are used for game development, are available for Windows only. So it won't really be a choice. It would be sort of required of you to use Windows.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you.
okay.
Hello.
Yes.
I wanted to ask one thing. What if this open source goes in a negative manner? Say like the contributions are made, but we are publishing our code, source code, right? So what if someone just adds some bugs into my code and just interferes in that, and if I am not able to find it out, my
Well, the thing is,
it's a chance
uh,
that I may spoil my.
Okay. Okay.
the
So
thing with GitHub is, if you spoil your code, there is version control. You can revert back to those changes. And if you are talking about if someone uses your source code in a negative way or for their own benefit, there are many licenses on GitHub, Apache license, MIT license, etc. Since this is an introductory workshop, so we didn't talk about them. Those licenses allows a user to use that course in a corporate sector or commercial purpose. So I don't think we should talk. You can connect with us.
Yeah, I'm online.
Well, okay. So we need to explore about licenses. Akash,
uh, I mean, we can talk about licenses, but I would like to answer Yuvraj's answer by so the Linux is an operating system which runs most of the servers in the world. And so all of these companies, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, all of them are using Linux servers only, and security for them is a primary concern. And the Linux kernel is open source. So the ideology behind that is, even if they're bad actors who want to corrupt your code and are basically malicious in nature, so to avoid that, what is also other people, like there must be good people also, right? Because I mean, everyone won't be trying to mess with your code. So there are also going to be good people who will look into bugs and fix them. And so there's this yeah, so that's it. I mean, and there are also tests at different levels. So you test every individual file, and then you test
and you
one.
can revert back using version control.
Yeah, and see, that's where Git comes in use. So if your software if it's not behaving properly, then you can revert back to a previous version, and you can see the changes line by line. like which file has been changed. So it's very easy to see which line has been changed. So you'll be in touch and able to track what files have been changed. So no one will actually be able to change the file without you noticing, because all the changes will be tracked. Getting my point?
Yeah, yes. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Any more questions, anyone? No questions?
Okay, I guess now it's time to wrap up.
Yeah. If
Thank you,
anyone,
everyone.
if anyone
Always.
has some feedback for us, for this has been our first workshop.
Actually, yes.
So if anyone has any suggestions towards us, we'd be happy to take feedback.